The sun over the Spanish plains rose slow and golden, stretching across endless fields of dry grass and scattered olive trees. Isabella had never imagined her life would lead her here, far from the crowded streets of Seville, standing before a weathered ranch with nothing but a small bag and a desperate need for work. The ranch was known as Rancho del Viento, a place whispered about in nearby villages. People said it belonged to a wealthy, mysterious cowboy who rarely showed his face. Some claimed he had once been a soldier. Others said he had inherited vast lands and preferred solitude over society. Isabella didn't care about rumors. She needed a job. The foreman, a stern older man named Mateo, looked her up and down skeptically. Cleaning barns isn't easy work, he warned. Long hours, hard labor, not for someone like you. I can handle it, Isabella replied firmly, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. Mateo hesitated, then nodded. Fine, you start today. The barn was larger than she expected, filled with the scent of hay, animals, and dust. Horses stomped softly in their stalls, their eyes following her every move. Isabella tied back her hair and picked up a shovel, determined to prove herself. The work was brutal. Within an hour, her hands were sore and sweat clung to her skin. By midday, she felt like collapsing. Yet she refused to stop. That's when she noticed him. A man in simple clothes, a worn shirt, dusty boots, and a wide-brimmed hat walked quietly into the barn. He didn't look like the others. There was something calm, almost deliberate about the way he moved. Without a word, he picked up another shovel and began working beside her. Isabella glanced at him. You don't have to help, she said between breaths. He gave a small smile. Looks like you could use it. His voice was low, steady. There was kindness in it, but also something else, something she couldn't quite place. They worked in silence for a while, the rhythm of their shovels filling the space. Eventually, he spoke again. You're new here. Yes, Isabella replied. Just arrived this morning. Most people don't last a day. She smirked slightly. Then I suppose I'll have to be different. He chuckled softly. I think you might be. As the hours passed, the work seemed lighter with him around. He showed her small tricks, how to lift without straining her back, how to move faster without wasting energy. By evening, Isabella had done more than she thought possible. When they finally stepped outside, the sky was painted in shades of orange and purple. Thank you, she said, brushing dust from her dress. I don't think I would have survived today without your help. He tipped his hat slightly. You would have. You're stronger than you think. She watched him walk away, disappearing toward the far end of the ranch. Something about him stayed with her, a quiet curiosity she couldn't ignore. Little did she know, the man who had just helped her shovel the barn was not just another. The days turned into weeks, and Isabella slowly found her place at Rancho del Viento. The work remained difficult, but she grew stronger with each passing day. Her hands toughened, her movements became quicker, and the once overwhelming tasks turned into routine. Yet one thing never changed, the quiet cowboy who worked beside her. He appeared almost every day, always dressed like a laborer, never giving orders, never acting above anyone else. The other workers treated him as one of their own. Though Isabella noticed something strange, they spoke to him with a subtle respect, as if they knew something she didn't. Who is he? She finally asked Mateo one evening. Mateo paused, then shrugged. Just a ranch hand. But Isabella wasn't convinced. The man who had introduced himself simply as Alejandro was different. He spoke little, but when he did, his words carried weight. He noticed things others didn't. Once, he calmed a frightened horse with nothing more than a soft whisper. Another time, he fixed a broken gate faster than two experienced workers combined. And then there were the moments when he looked out across the land, his expression distant, thoughtful, like someone carrying responsibility far greater than he let on. One evening, as they worked alone in the barn, Isabella decided to press him. You don't seem like a normal ranch worker, she said. Alejandro raised an eyebrow. What does a normal ranch worker look like? She smiled faintly. Tired, complaining, loud, you're none of those. He laughed quietly. Maybe I'm just an unusual man. Or maybe you're hiding something, she teased. For a brief moment, his expression changed, just a flicker, but enough for Isabella to notice. Everyone hides something, he replied. Before she could respond, Mateo entered the barn. Alejandro, he called, his tone suddenly formal. We need you at the house. Isabella's eyes widened slightly. The house? That was where the owner lived. Alejandro nodded. I'll be there. As he walked past her, he paused. Finish up here. Don't overwork yourself. She watched him leave, her curiosity burning stronger than ever. The next morning, everything changed. The workers gathered near the main house, whispering among themselves. Isabella joined them, confused. What's going on? She asked. Mateo stepped forward. The owner has returned. He wants to meet everyone. A tall figure emerged from the house, dressed not in simple work clothes, but in a finely tailored jacket. His posture was confident, his presence commanding. Isabella's breath caught. It was Alejandro, the same man who had shoveled beside her, laughed with her and treated her like an equal. Was the owner of Rancho del Viento. Her heart raced as he stepped closer, his eyes meeting hers. You? She whispered, stunned. He gave a small, almost apologetic smile. I suppose I owe you an explanation. The crowd slowly dispersed after the introduction, leaving Isabella standing alone in a swirl of confusion and disbelief. Alejandro, no, Señor Alejandro, approached her, his expression calm but searching. You're angry, he said gently. Isabella crossed her arms. You lied to me. I didn't lie, he replied. I just didn't tell you everything. That's the same thing. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. I wanted to see the ranch as it truly is. Not through reports or the eyes of others, but by working alongside my people. And I was part of your experiment? She asked, hurt creeping into her voice. No, he said firmly. You were never an experiment. She looked away, unsure what to believe. I helped you because I wanted to, he continued. Because I saw someone who refused to give up, even when the work was breaking her. His words softened her anger, but only slightly. You could have told me. Would it have changed anything? He asked quietly. She hesitated. The truth was, yes, it would have. She would have acted differently, spoken differently, maybe even kept her distance. That's what I thought, he said. Silence hung between them, heavy but not empty. Finally, Isabella spoke. Why me? Out of everyone here, why did you choose to work beside me? Alejandro smiled faintly. Because you reminded me of myself. She looked at him, surprised. I didn't grow up wealthy, he explained. Everything I have now came from years of hard work. I know what it feels like to struggle, to be underestimated. When I saw you walk into that barn, I recognized that same determination. Isabella felt something shift inside her. You treated me like an equal, she said softly. Because you are. The sincerity in his voice was undeniable. Days passed, and though things had changed, not everything was different. Alejandro still visited the barns, though now his presence carried authority. The workers respected him openly, and decisions were made with quiet efficiency. But with Isabella, he remained the same. He still helped her when the work was heavy, still spoke to her with warmth, still looked at her as if she were more than just another worker. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, they stood side by side outside the barn. Do you regret coming here? He asked. Isabella shook her head. No, it's the hardest thing I've ever done, but also the best. He nodded. I'm glad. She glanced at him, a small smile forming. Just promise me one thing. What's that? No more disguises. He laughed softly. I can promise that. For a moment they stood in comfortable silence, the golden light of the Spanish plains stretching endlessly before them. What began as a simple job had turned into something neither of them expected. A story of honesty, strength, and a connection built not on status but on shared struggle. And in that quiet moment, Isabella realized something she hadn't dared to admit before. She hadn't just found work at Rancho del Viento.